Hello, everybody. Back to another episode of Wild Interviews with Fabrizio Lazarde. Today, we have another awesome guest with us. It is Rene Hedegaard. He is the owner and founder of the Krokodille Zoo in Denmark. I have heard great things about this place. It has the 23 living species of crocodiles, all the crocodile species in the world. And not only that, but it supports a lot of conservation programs for the conservation of these species. Even though he works with a lot of crocodile species that I would love to feature in today's interview, we will try to focus on the Orinoco crocodile, that, by the way, are the only ones in Europe located at his zoo. So that's great. Rene, welcome to the channel. It's great to have you.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, I think we can start, like normal, chill. What can you tell me about you? How did you started working with conservation, or what inspired you to found Krokodille Zoo?
Yes. Yeah. In fact, I don't know for sure, because when I was really a small kid, 5, 7 years old, then I really was so interested in crocodiles and tortoises and other reptiles in general. And I ended up in the zoo, I always ended up with the crocodiles or the reptile rooms. And yeah, so I had this feeling, because so many have asked me also in Denmark, because it is really special what I'm doing, and I'm living for it. That's really my life, but to do that. And so I don't know exactly what started it, because for me, it was always there.
Wow. Well,
and then when I was 20 years old, I bought this farm. I was working as an electrician. And then I bought this farm that I have today. And that was an old pig farm. But that was what I could afford. And then I started to build it step by step with help of friends. And then 10 years later, the Crocodile Zoo could open for the public. But the Crocodile Zoo that time looked much different than it do today, 21 years later. And then it developed step by step. And today we have really very big, amazing collection of all species of crocodiles.
simply wow. Really, like this is a story that not many people tell. Most of the zoos in Europe have like more than 50 years, 40 years, but being I would say a relatively new zoo, because like
Yeah,
from 2000 to 2021 it's like nothing.
exactly.
It's great all you have achieved, and not only that, what you told, it's very important, and I hope it can inspire people to follow their dreams. You started small. You started with a childhood dream to have a zoo and help crocodiles, reptiles, and well, see everything you've achieved. It is constant, yeah, being constant on what you want and what you feel. And it I really like that you are telling this story to us, and I hope that many people like it. Well, okay, you mentioned that it was 10 years later that you opened Crocodile Zoo.
Yes, 10 years after I bought the farm. Yeah.
When you opened, what were the first challenges you encountered at the zoo? I mean, like, is there a remarkable experience you had at the first stages of your zoo that you would like to share?
Yeah, but maybe that's a hard one, because I don't know what was the special challenges. In fact, even more before the zoo was opening, then there was enormous challenge to have the zoo license, to have the license to open a zoo, because it's not every day a new zoo will open, of course, and that was really quite a challenge. But yeah, I think there have been, of course, many things, but also to build a zoo that could really maintain the heat without having money, because that was what I not have. My parents was not rich at all. They did not have any money, and I did not have any money. So everything was done with what I could earn from my job. So, and I also did not have any savings because I was only 20 years when I started this. So just ready with my education as an electrician. So yeah, so the challenge was always there. There was many challenges, but always I just saw them as a challenge to what I really wanted.
This is a very good superation story, and what you said, you committed your entire life to Crocodile Zoo, and it is like, yes, what I meant, constancy. Like, you are there, you spend every cent or every dollar you can on building this. That's, for example, what you've achieved in terms, well, diverting a little to that side, what you've achieved in terms of breeding the different species at the EEPs. Well, you are really contributing a lot to the EEPs in what regards crocodilians on
Mhm.
IESA. But, you know, I don't know, it really interests me. And, you seem so passionate about it.
Yeah. Mhm.
That's, wow, that's great. Mm, moving forward, okay, I think we can move on to a little more about the Orinoco crocodile. If I'm correct, prior to having Orinoco crocodiles, oh, sorry, that confuses me a lot. I don't know. In Denmark, they were only found in their native range in Colombia and Venezuela, but also in a captive breeding program managed by ACA in USA, right?
Yes.
What did it feel to finally have the 23rd species of crocodilian, that, if I'm correct, it was the last species of crocodilian you needed to have the 23rd species, the
Yes.
23 species, right?
Yes. Yes.
This achievement, what did it feel to you when you finally the crocodiles arrived to Denmark?
Yeah, but of course that was really nice, and it was a nice cooperation with the people in Venezuela, and also with the Dallas World Aquarium, and also of course with for many years with the crocodile species. But many of these things also with the zoos in United States also appeared with my breeding of Black Caimans, which are the only breeding in the world, because there were many zoos in America that tried to breed Black Caimans, and with many bad stories of female killing males or other problems, but it never succeeded. So the first breeding of Black Caimans in the world was from the line that I had, was here in Denmark. And that was in fact also some of that started that things, but many things starts each other. And then of course my really big work with the conservation of crocodiles, and it started in 97 with the Chinese alligators, where we really did a big thing for the Chinese alligators, and then Philippine crocodiles, then American crocodiles on Cuba, then the gharials, and now the Orinoco crocodile is the head thing of my conservation efforts.
Um, Quick questions before we continue, because I have a question about the Black Caiman that just got me hooked up. But have you had any breeding success up to date with the Orinoco crocodile?
No, because with the Orinoco crocodile is like that I only have females.
Oh, they are ambassador animals then.
Yeah, you can say, but now we have an agreement with, I have it directly in the Venezuela, and I have a really nice group of adult animals, and they will come to my facility when I'm ready with the new installations we are doing. And then there will be males here. And then the complete, you can say, goal in it is that we will hopefully breed Orinoco crocodiles, because already now we have the world record from any zoo to be the most successful in breeding different species. So we absolutely also hope we will be good at breeding Orinoco crocs. But the good thing in this, and what I really so much passion in like, is that all these babies that will be born here, with no exceptions, will be released in Venezuela when they are 1 to 2 years old.
that's really wonderful, like getting back, because something I really like about some programs is that, for example, if we breed 20 individuals of a species, we release 10, we keep 10 for the breeding program. For example, we talked kind of about that with with a guest that made a film about the pygmy hawk in India, and well, he mentioned that they have a breeding center there, and he was present when the 100th individual was released into the wild. And yes, it was the same. Some individuals were retained for the breeding program while others were released into the wild. And it's amazing, really, this idea that you have. And I wish you the best. I hope that you can bring the males and start breeding them off, because really, in the wild, the population is not doing so good right now. Am I right?
Yes. But
So,
we already know. But in fact, the main goal with breeding them in here in Denmark is because we are already breeding and raising Orinoco crocodiles in Venezuela, and I'm a big part of that. I'm the founder of all the food and things like that, equipment and other things for the ranch in Masaguaral. And there we are raising 150 to 200 young Orinoco crocodiles for release every year.
wow.
But the big difference, if we can breed them in Denmark instead of Venezuela, is of not instead. We still will do the things in Venezuela, of course, but that is to put a main focus on this. And maybe we can hit maybe some, if we are really lucky, some rich people or rich organizations who will like the program and then support it. Because what will happen if there is Orinoco crocodiles born in Denmark and they have to fly back to Venezuela? Then very nice TV teams are ready to follow them. If I tell the TV teams that, yeah, we will go to Venezuela, it's very nice, and we will release 150, 200 crocodiles, and if you are in, we can make reservations that is possible, you can come, but they are not so interested to do that when the crocs are in. That's the story, the story that these crocodiles are born in Denmark and they will be released. That story, they are really in to do that. And that could be extremely big for that program, because what the biggest need in Venezuela now is really more funding. And it's
Yeah.
even small fundings that are needed, because the people that work there, they're so passionate, and that is an amazing team to be a part of.
I just wanted to say that if I were one of those TV crews or TV, like TV teams, I would definitely go there, like in all of that, because that could be an awesome documentary. And
Yeah,
I would love to see it, like, like these crocodiles, all their journey, and then being released into the wild, and that would be great,
yes,
very interesting to watch. And I imagine, of course, maybe with these individuals and with the support, as you mentioned, of other organizations or people interested in the conservation of the Orinoco crocodile, more things could be achieved for the species, not only in situ but in ex situ in Venezuela or Colombia. Yes, Rene, going back a little bit, I don't know, it just hooked me up. What can you tell me about the Black Caiman breeding program? You mentioned that you are the only facility breeding them in the entire world.
yes. I have another suggestion. I've done so much with Black Caimans. Maybe you should make an interview with me about Black Caimans, because that's a big topic.
Well, let's do that. Let's
Yes,
try after this interview to plan another one about Black Caimans. What do you
yes.
think?
I mean,
Great. Then let's move on. I'm now hyped because I want to learn more about the Black Caiman. But you're right. The focus of today's interview is the Orinoco crocodile. I think, Rene, if you have something else to add about the program, or like your experiences in conservation,
yeah.
If not, we can move on to the fun fact section, which is mainly where we talk everything about the species. What do you think?
I can add something to. I would love to add something to this. Um, the main thing of the Orinoco Crocodile Conservation Program in Venezuela is done at a very nice ranch called Masaguaral. Masaguaral. Masaguaral is the name of the place, and that is a farm where a ranch, really giant ranch, where you can in fact in the behind of the ranch. In fact, I'm really sorry that I don't can remember how many acres, but really enormous, enormous big. So enormous big that this is sanctuary for wildlife. If you take a walk, and you can walk for hours there in the night without being the same spot, then you in the night can see nearly all wildlife of Venezuela. And you can walk around there and see so many nice animals just having fantastic times because there they are protected. And there's amazing wetland, so all species you can imagine of Venezuela, they are there. And that is so amazing, of course. And the only animals there that are in a cage, and that's a nice, big natural cage, are the breeding Orinoco crocodiles. And this completely place was founded by, now I have a name problem. Names and me is the worst part. And it's in fact so important. But anyway, the founder has the biggest respect for him because he was in the army as a young man. And then he saw such a crocodile nest hatching with Orinoco crocodiles. And he could not help himself, even it was so dangerous to interfere such a nest. And then he was there, he lifted out an egg, and the Orinoco crocodile climbed out in his hand. And this is now 80 years ago. And then,
Wow.
and then he was just, as he said, he was hit. And his name is Thomas Bloom. Thomas Bloom founded, Thomas Bloom. He founded all this. And then he said, this is what I want to do. I want to learn about these animals. And I want to see, and then of course he learned very fast that these animals were already in a rather big problems in Venezuela. And then he created this to make this foundation and this farm in his on his ranch to breed these crocodiles, but only for introduction in the world, in the nature. There's no farming for skinning or something like that. And now today, his wife is still going on. Cecilia Bloom is still going on. And in fact, are really still saying, okay, we saved the farm for this. And such a nice team is working on it. And now we try to redo several things on the farm. And also, of course, it has to be maintained in many ways. And this is what we really need some people to help us with. So if anybody should see this interview and be interested to support a project where you can do a really big, in fact, difference with short money, then we would love to hear from them.
Well, I have good news for you, Rene. Panama and Venezuela are very near each other, and I have a good amount of Venezuelan viewers who I think some of them would be more than happy to contribute to a program in their country and to support a species that well it's wonderful really, and I think needs to be more talked about because yes, of course, everybody talks about the common species, American alligator or spectacled caiman, I don't know. But almost nobody knows about the existence, first of all, of 23 species of crocodiles. And not only that, about these species, Philippine crocodile, Cuban crocodile, New Guinea crocodile, Orinoco crocodile. These ones, Chinese alligator too. These ones are in a very rough shape, and I think they are very beautiful, very charismatic species that could be, like more liked by people, right?
Yes, I completely agree with you.
Rene, you know, I I find this very interesting. I hope that, well, when we pass to the part of threats and conservation, we will talk more in deep about the, like skinning and all of that, all the hunting for their skin. But I had a question about that. I will just save it. If you want, we can now move on to the fun fact section.
Yes.
What are the most interesting things you can tell me about the Orinoco crocodile?
Most interesting thing. Yeah. It's the biggest predator of South America. And yeah. And what is the most interesting thing? In fact, you can say that you can see in this, you can also see how smart the spectacle caiman is. Because today, the spectacle caiman is a really big problem for the Orinoco crocodile. For 1,000 years ago, it was not a big problem. But then it was for 70, 80 years ago, it was the white man really loved to go to Venezuela. Venezuela was much different to visit than it is today. And just more or less for fun, so many giant Orinoco crocodiles were hunted and shot down just for fun for game hunting. And much more crocodiles were shot that the environment could stand. And this is one of the main things that have really was a problem for the Orinoco crocodiles and start to wipe them out. The other thing is that the caimans, they were living together with the Orinoco crocodiles for many, many, many years. But that was not a problem because there was Orinoco crocodiles enough. But the caimans are really so smart. I think the last crocodile that will stand on the planet, because there are really problems, and if all these problems continue, that's for sure the spectacle caiman. Because they're smart, they eat the Orinoco crocodile babies, and in that way,
Oh,
they're not coming, then the Orinocos have problems. And that's also, of course, there's many, they're eating each other, but with these caimans, they're really, really smart with that. Because they are smart in that way. Of course, they're not smart in the way that we say we want to save the Orinoco crocodile. But I think the spectacle caimans say we will be the only species living here. If you visit Venezuela, then when you drive on the road, these caimans are just in the channel, just next to the road. They're everywhere. They can adapt to live nearly everywhere in a wetland. It doesn't matter if it's close to humans. And the Orinoco crocodiles cannot do that at all. And of course, also the next thing is that humans are afraid of Orinoco crocodiles because they get a complete other size.
yes. And so basically, we could say if we go to like, if we make this fun, practically there's a rivalry between the spectacle caiman and the Orinoco crocodile. Like
Yes.
I think the main problem here would be like the population density. For example, there's a huge, much bigger population density of spectacle caimans than it is of Orinoco crocodiles.
Oh, yes.
And as you mentioned, I imagine they compete for resources, for territory, for food, and well, that can alter things. And as you say, they are very smart. They will eat the cashlings of the Orinoco crocodiles, so there would be no more like competition. Am I right?
Yes.
It's a huge issue, I know, but what do you think could be a solution to this problem between the spectacled caiman and the Orinoco crocodile?
Yeah, but the solution is in start with some areas to try to bring it back to what it was. But I can tell where we are releasing Orinoco crocodiles, there I have not seen any spectacle games. So that's really, really good.
Really good, yes.
Yes, that's very good. But also on the other hand, when we release the Orinoco crocodiles, they are more or less all of them more than 1 meter. So they are mostly not in danger by spectacle caimans, but they're also mostly not in danger by fishes. And everybody, not everybody, but nearly all predators can eat the crocodile babies. So
Oh,
that makes it such a big difference when we release them when they're 1 or even 1.5 years old, and they are more than 1 meter. Then there's not all predators that just can eat them. So in that way, they are much more safe, and then they have bigger chances to survive and grow up to be adults.
At least these methods have been applied with a heck of a lot of species. For example, with turtles, with birds, they take the eggs. They, like in a captive or safe place, I could say, they are till they are like take taken care of till they are um I wouldn't say adult age, but like an age where they can defend themselves and do everything, and then they are released. It has actually been a way to determine that it does increases the survivalship no, sorry, the survival chances of the individuals. Because, for example, in some species I was reading, I don't remember which one, but there was a 1% probability that the species that hatched from the egg would reach maturity or would reach adulthood. Instead, when it was, like the eggs were taken into captivity and everything, at least it had a 30% to reach the adulthood and then be released. And it was better, of course. So yes, that method is really good. For example, with these species that are already dwindling in the
Mhm.
wild, so that's great. Mm, what can you tell me about like the Colombia population? How is it doing? Mm, what is there the population more stable in Venezuela or Colombia?
But in fact, no, I think there are really less people that know about how good or bad the population is in Colombia. Of course, we know that there are not many Orinoco crocodiles in Colombia as well. Absolutely not. And they're really threatened there, like they are in Venezuela. But I must say that when you work in this conservation program, like me with the guys in Venezuela for Fudesi, then we are focused on Venezuela. And I have not a big knowledge about how big and or how small is the population in Colombia is. The only thing we know is that it's still very small, but also we know it should still exist.
Well, okay, let's try like to what can you tell me good things or good like things that are very good about the species, or for example, prior to all its decline and everything, was it an apex predator in its native ecosystem of Los Llanos?
I'm not sure if I understand it. I think
Oh,
this,
sorry, I will try to repeat it. I mean, like, how can I say it? What was its position on the um, food chain or its ecological niche? How did it help to the balance of the environment? Or when it started declining, what happened? Did the environment change? Did any problems appeared after the huge disappearance of a big part of the population of Orinoco crocodiles?
yeah, yeah, of course. And what is really known is that when you, in fact, when you move the biggest predator from an area, then you really make really a problem, because in fact they are the ruler of the area, and they are born and they are raised to rule the right way. They are not like, yeah, man who just maybe taking over or being selfish. No, they're not at all. They are taking really good care of that environment. And also the thing is that we know that the crocodiles was some of the beginners for all what are living today. So the crocodiles was there first, and after then come many other animals. Of course, even before them was the turtles there. But anyway, then they are more or less the founders of the area. And when you move them as the top predator, you really make a bad balance. And what I think is so well seen is that when you see documentaria, for example, about areas where they have moved all the big sharks because we have eaten them or whatever we have done with the poor things, then also the population of all animals, other fishes in the waters vary. bad. And then when you see protected areas where they really can say, okay, here we safe haven and here can the sharks be. And this is full of other fishes. So more like many will say, no, fishes don't want to live near to sharks because they will eat them. Yeah, but that's the balance of the world. And then you see such a nice ocean when you dive into it, where there is a good balance. And then if you see also even in Great Canyon, where they did it with wolves, and Great Canyon was looking really poor and this is not what it was. And then they introduced the wolves, and they did such a nice reintroduction program of wolves because wolf was top predators there.
Exactly.
And then you can really see how amazing nice nature find the way to develop things again. And it's always when we interfere too much, we will damage a lot. Of course, all species in an ecosystem is extremely important. But maybe if you move some in the middle or some in the bottom of the system, then just some others will take over. But if you move the top of the system, then it will be extremely bad for the nature. And that's why we are struggling to bring back the Orinoco crocodiles in all these nice areas where they have lived before.
Of course, of course. Whew, you mentioned the Great Canyon. The ecosystem is more than healthy after the reintroduction of wolves, the same that happened with Yellowstone, for example.
Yes.
They, you know, when they reintroduced wolves, even the course of some rivers changed.
Yeah.
It's something
It's
mind.
amazing.
If you think it like that, it's mind blowing. Who would
Yes.
that just reintroducing or having a healthy population of an apex predator or a top predator would help the environment like that? It's you know it you know if you think about it, it's incredible. You can't believe it.
Yes, exactly.
Ready. I think we can move on to the conservation and threats section. First of all, we have talked a little about the skin and the hunt. Let's go in deep about it. What are the main threats for the species?
But there's many threats, of course. But of course, the main threat is humans. And what we are working on is to find places that is so left alone as possible for the institution. Because of course, it's always the problem with humans. The next problem is that when we release these young crocodiles, of course, crocodiles are really good at this to be released because they will not get tame or they will not get attached to the people who feed them. And you can also easily feed in a way in captivity, so you don't feed them with a forceps or whatever, that you really only let them prey themselves in their enclosure. But still, these crocodiles, especially in the beginning, they're very weak. And when you release them, then they are more easy just, of course, a few days after to catch and to eat. And this, I also think, still is a big problem of some of the places where we could release crocodiles. If the thing is, in fact, to keep it, in one way or the other, very secret that you release them. Because when you release them, then you can be maybe telling a lot about it everywhere 1 month later, that you're proud of all this and so. But if the awareness comes to the wrong people when you release them, then they are so easy to catch in the beginning of their release. And all this, of course, is really a problem. And of course, also, they have got food in captivity, so they have to prey themselves. Of course, we give them live fish in captivity that they can catch themselves and so on. But still, they have to start another life. That's a life where there are more limited prey, and they have to catch them themselves. And they still have to live with that some places that humans can come by and they like to eat them or whatever. Because also you have to think about that in Venezuela, people are so extremely poor. This is really extreme. And of
Yes,
course,
it is.
if you don't get food for the last 2 or 3 or 4 days, then, and your kids don't have food, then of course you even eat an endangered species if that's what is in your neighborhood. And this is of course a really giant problem. So in fact, the Orinoco crocodile, like many other species in the world, of course, the main problem we have is of course humans.
Well, I think that all the current endangered species are mainly endangered because of humans.
Yes, that's the
So,
way it is.
so yes, it's no surprise in reality. And by the way, before we continue, people, again, that's the importance of involving the local communities.
Of course.
We don't get the support of the local people, then practically the work for these species would be lost. Because, okay, you reintroduce them, you have them, you bred them, they are now somewhat stable. But if you leave and the people keep doing what they do, the species will be again in danger, will be again in low numbers, and yes, that's what raising awareness is for. Am I right, Ren?
Yes, you're absolutely right. And that's so well proved that what they did in the Philippines for conservation of Philippine crocodiles. That's really amazing. That's one of the best programs I ever have worked with. And I worked a good part with these guys. And what I must say is that they really got the locals involved. And they really got it so well involved. And they started even with the schools and the kids, so the kids could be proud of the Philippine crocodiles. And that's so important, because if they are proud of the crocodiles, they will not hunt them. And then they will even protect them and tell other people and adults that want to do it, to tell them that don't do it. So you're so right. But I think in Venezuela, it's more difficult just to do that. And but also, luckily, in Venezuela, we also, where the Orinoco crocodiles are living, we have really places where there are no humans at all. And this is the place to, and we have traveled enormous distance to go there. And there is no humans. And where there's no humans, this is really the place to start a good, healthy population in the wild.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, it's, that's also a thing. There are many species that are living near humans because that's what's left of their habitat. But with with a species like the Orinoco crocodile, the Llanos ecosystem, it's very big, very vast areas of land with little to no people. Well,
Yeah.
of course, yes, they have some communities, but there are vast areas of land with no people in miles.
Yeah.
So yes, it's a very good place to start a healthy population and to reestablish what it was in the past.
Yeah.
Rene, well, before we continue, I think, and before we end, what can you tell me about the husbandry of the Orinoco crocodiles in the captivity part of all of this?
Yeah. They're really very nice animals to work with in captivity. And they adjust really well here. That's absolutely for sure. They're fast to adjust if you have the right circumstances for them. And also, and that's important when all control in a zoo, they are really good at feeding points and so on, and really active and good jumpers and ready to show off, I'm a croc, and this is for the public. And that also gives them many points up for the public. And that's what is so important, because of course it's not possible, but I would love that everybody who visits the crocodile zoo, after their visit, say, crocodiles is not these awful creatures that we talked about. They are very, very important for the wild. And even where they live, they just don't kill and eat all animals at all. All the animals love to live nearby with the crocodiles. Where the crocs are, there are clean water, they eat the dead fishes, and so on and so on. And in fact, yeah. So they don't have to love them, but to respect them will be fantastic instead of hating them.
Yes, you're
And the Orinoco crocodiles are really good at that point. I use mine a lot for that.
You are completely right, Ren. And viewers, if you ever go to Denmark or visit Denmark, make sure to go to Krokodille Zoo and, well, oh my god, see the 23 species of crocodiles and the only Orinoco crocodiles in Europe. Ren, your project is awesome. All what you're doing, not only for the Orinoco crocodile, but for all the other species. And oh my god, I simply don't have words.
That's
It's
good.
great. It's great.
I have a small thing. Today, under the IUCN, we have 24 species of crocodiles. So,
That's
in
right.
fact, the Crocodile Sucus is approved. But you're right, the 23, and even before Sucus was approved, then the 23 was the Orinoco crocodile. And, of course, the Orinoco crocodile, for me, is by far more precious than the Sucus is. But now today we have 24 approved, and there will even be more approved in the future because of
That's
DNA.
right.
Yeah, just
By
to
the
point.
way, are there any sucus in Europe or in
Yes, yes,
captivity?
yes. And they're also breeding of Sucus. In fact, in the beginning, there was a small thought that Sucus should be rare because they find them in Mauritania in a really small population. But in fact, what they didn't know when they did it, and in fact, not that many years ago, let's say 20 or 25 years ago, that this small population just was a population they adopted to live there. So that was funny. So today, in fact, you have, you can say West and East African crocodile, and one of them is Sugus and the other one is Niloticus. So in fact, there is existing thousands and thousands and thousands of Sugus. Sugus is not a rare species at all.
Wow.
So in fact, and also what was funny in zoos, a short fact about Sugus is that many zoos had, not many, but some had a Sugus and a Niloticus without knowing it. And then they could not understand why they lay eggs, but the eggs never hatched. Because in fact, what is funny with Sugus and Niloticus, they cannot get babies.
Interbreed, yes.
No, they cannot interbreed because their chromosomes are so far away from each other. And also the Sugus mostly don't get as big as the Niloticus.
Wow.
Because many crocodiles can easily breed with each other, and even when you have these hybrids, they can still breed with other crocodiles. And this is so rare because normally you have a rule saying hybrids cannot make babies. But anyway, so that's this. So the Sugus in these parts of Africa are not that extreme rare at all. No, they're not in a situation, they're not, you cannot even compare it with Orinoco crocodiles at all.
I will make sure to look for a person or for a guest to talk about sucus one day. And wow, it really got me intrigued, that story, like it is the newest species of crocodile up to date, right?
Yeah, in fact, the same man you should talk with is Matt Shirley. You should catch him because he's also doing all the new Osteolaemus species. He's an amazing scientist with crocodiles, and you should aim for getting him to an interview. And then he can tell you a lot about new coming species like Osteolaemus osborni and one other Osteolaemus and the new the new Cataphractus, the new slender-snouted crocodile, and so on. He's the expert in development of new species.
That would be awesome. I look forward to contacting him. And Rene, before we end today's interview, please, can you give us a last inspiring message for our viewers? It can be about anything, about crocodiles, conservation, whatever you want.
I will do my best. I'm really pleased to sit here as a crocodile specialist, be invited by the Crocodile Specialist Group, and with the time with Harry Messel, where he was the the man, our chairman, and the man behind all the conservation. And I will do my best as long as I live to do conservation. But I think that if we all think about one thing, and also especially the richest people who can take over so much of the world and all this, but if we all think about, we only borrow the planet from our kids. And this is our kids who have to live on it. And don't think maybe only about the kids, but the grandkids and all this. And then think about the nature. We all need the nature. We need the wildlife to be in a good, stable balance. And we need the rainforest for oxygen. And think about all this. We don't need internet so desperately. We need oxygen desperately. We need the sunlight desperately. Let's together do our best to save our planet, and let's together be a part, and everybody can say, okay, we like to do this and this, because nobody can do everything. And then I will aim my life for the conservation of crocodiles.
Very good message, Rene. I hope that you viewers take note and try to do everything you can for our planet, even if it is small things like recycling, reusing, being a little bit more sustainable. Even that small things help our environment and help our
Totally right.
endangered wildlife. Rene, it was great having you. Thanks a lot for being here, for accepting this opportunity. And as promised, our goodbye will be in Danish.
Yes.
It was Frofte.
Farewell.
Proven.
Yeah. And I have a PS. I have a small PS, a last message. Keep on your good work. I'm really impressed about you. I'm impressed about your knowledge about what the topic and how prepared you are. Please go on with this. You will make a big, big difference, I'm sure.
Thanks, Rene. Great words. You too, you are doing a great work, not only for crocodilian conservation, but inspiring a lot of people in Europe and around the world. You too keep the good work. Without you conservationists, this channel wouldn't exist, and many of these species would sadly be extinct too.
Yes.
I always remember, I always forget.
Farewell.
Frovent, everybody.
Farewell.
Remember to like, subscribe, and go follow Krokodille Zoo. I will leave links down below. Frovent.
Farewell.